Hi there and welcome to the Gazette's weekly Hockey Inside Out show. I'm Stu Cowan of the Gazette and I'm joined this week by my regular partner, former Canadiens defenseman Rick Green, and we have a special guest this week filling in for Chris Nilan, none other than Brian Skrudland, who was another key part of that Canadiens 1986 Stanley Cup win. On a recent show, Rick and Chris both said Brian was the funniest teammate they ever had, so we figured why not have him shake their knuckles. Anyway, Brian, great to see you. I'm sure fans are interested. What are you up to now? Where are you living? What's keeping you busy? I know you're also part of the Canadiens Old Timers team.
Well, thanks, Stu, for having me. And great to see Greeny, of course. Doing a lot of fundraising these days, not only with the alumni, but also with five grandchildren.
Well,
It seems that's keeping me busy these days. So life is great in Calgary, where everybody's healthy and doing well. So
yeah, good stuff. I'm happy to hear that. So, Rick, I think you were at the game Tuesday night, were you?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
All right. So, Canadiens got spanked 5-1 by the LA Kings. Probably their worst game of the season. Rick, what was your biggest concern watching that?
Well, you got to give full marks to LA because they played really hard, and they're a big club that really pushed hard on the Habs and kind of kept them out of sorts, and they weren't able to find their groove. And not enough guys with the Canadiens that really were committed to do what they'd done before, which is playing hard and getting involved. And LA, they're a tough team, and they were well informed on how they had to play against the Canadiens. And you look at the way that they shut down their power play; they were really effective in trying to take away seam passes, and just they were ready for them. And Montreal didn't respond in a great way, and the results speak for themselves.
Yeah, Brian, after the game, Marty St. said it was a case of a veteran team taking a lead in the third period there. They scored the 3 goals and then knowing how to defend it. You've played on a lot of teams. Just how important is that veteran presence? And is it a concern with you with the Canadiens that they don't have so much?
well, it's amazing today the momentum, how momentum shifts and changes a game. When you used to have a two-goal lead, the game was more or less over. I guess it helped to be able to hook somebody and strangle them to death for 30 seconds and not take a minor penalty either. But
Like what Rick used to do?
there used to be a few. We can share a few of those situations. He was one of the best defenders of all time. So not only his size, but the way he used his strength. But once again, it's that veteran presence of not panicking, of feeling comfortable at that point in time. And I think there's nothing wrong with icing the puck 300 times if you have to. And if LA had to do that, I'm sure they would have done it. So.
Rick, Marty has made it pretty clear that he wants Sam Montembeault to be his number one goalie. He made that clear a few days ago in a news conference. Do you think he should maybe change his mind after the loss to the Kings? Montembeault's now 4-4-1. He's got a 3.52 goals against average and an 861 save percentage, and Dobush has played really well this year.
Well, Marty's trying to get him back to playing the way he was before, and that's consistent, and it doesn't seem to be happening right now. And they're in a tough situation, like a lot of the teams where there's the games are crammed in, and you're going to need both goalies performing at their best. And right now, I think if you were to talk to Montembeault, he'd be the first one to say, I should have had that one, or I should have got that one, but that's not happening. So he's got to right his game sooner than later in order for them to have some success down this stretch where they're going to need both these guys playing really well. And right now, Montembeault isn't doing it. Dobush is, ready to jump in there, and he's had great success. And I think that Monty will have to take a step back and see what this Dobush can do for them.
They're still in first place in the Atlantic Division despite Montembeault's struggles. But Brian, you reach a point you don't want to fall behind, right? I mean, you've been on. You guys were sort of spoiled a bit when you had Patrick Waugh behind you there in goal. But I'm
You
sure
bet.
you've been on teams where there's sort of you don't know who the number one goalie is, and one guy's struggling. Just how does that impact the team?
Oh, in a big way. And on top of that, I mean, you can't take your foot off the gas. These guys realize they look at the standings every day and they realize that, a bad week can put you out of the playoffs. And not only that, it put you down the standings, maybe where you can't catch up. So these are the same points we're going to play for in March and April, and hopefully these guys realize that and just come to work every day because they've got a great group of young guys. The goaltending, I think, will right itself. These two are very good athletes and great players, great performers. Like Rick says, I hope Montembeault can get it together. But in the meantime, if it takes Dobich to stand up and if he's got to be overplayed right now, well, maybe that's what they'll end up doing.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they don't start. Sorry, go ahead, Rick.
No,
Go
I was
ahead.
just saying, and Screwy, we know about with Patrick, if you have confidence with the guy back there, it breeds confidence through your overall game. And, we used to have this rule back when the game was a little different. Let Patrick see the first shot and he'll stop it and we'll take care of the rest. And, he was able to do that in a timely manner that allowed the team to settle down when there's breakdowns. And, they need to have that moving forward with all their goaltenders. The save that they're supposed to make has to happen. It breeds confidence with them as a group and brings confidence in their overall game plan. And it's struggling a little bit lately, and they're going to have to find a way to get that straightened out and get more consistency in, making that timely save to allow them to get back on the winning track.
Greeny, I love the way that you said that because nowadays, I mean, we were told don't be the goaler, right? I mean, get out of the way. Let Pat stop that first one. And of course, you guys did a great job with the rebounds. But today, my good Lord, everybody they're willing to catch the puck with their mouth, I think, at 90 miles an hour. So quite incredible the sacrifices they make on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, I would be surprised if Marty doesn't start Dobis against Dallas on Thursday, and maybe time to start riding the hot goalie. After his last game though, Rick Dobish, he didn't play that bad, and he was in tears after the loss to the Devils. I don't think I've ever seen that after a regular season game, but I think it just sort of highlight how much this kid wants to win, and that's something I guess you'll learn moving forward, not to take each loss so personally.
Well, it just shows you when we always talk about goalies are special, and he's a classic example of a guy that's very unique, and he shows his frustration in having a tearful interview. But he's a competitive guy. You see it. He challenges the opposition when he's in there, saying, "Okay, try and beat me," and that's an ingredient that is nice to have in a goaltender. And it's always nice to see ones that can bounce back from maybe a subpar game, and they dig in and find a way to get their A game back out there and make those big saves that allow the team to play and have some success.
Yeah, I spoke with Pete Fry, the goalie mindset coach who works with Dobich after that game, and he said it just sort of shows how much he cares. And he says, I'd rather have that than a guy who doesn't really care. Brian, if you were a veteran and you saw a young goalie sort of responding that way, what would you say to him?
Well, you'd first of all go over. I mean, it's a team sport, and the puck does stop at that goaltender. So, you always try and support them. There's only two of them. That was the one thing. I think it's a headstrong position. They are a different animal altogether, and there's a reason for that. Yet at the same time, when they're on, boy, are they on. And it doesn't matter. I mean, I haven't had a chance to see either one of these guys practice. But I just know the best goalies that I ever played with during my career, they practiced even harder than they played. So they hated seeing pucks go into their net. So I think this Dobich has got the right attitude, and when you care that much, it's gonna come back and help him in flying colors.
Yeah, Carey Price was like that. I mean, you see him break his stick in practices. And
Sure.
Montembeault, Dobich, when he got sat out there for a while after playing a few games in a row, he said he was actually looking forward to it because he said he hadn't been practicing that well, and he was looking forward to getting back into his practice habits. So he's had quite a bit of time to practice now, which is another reason why I think it'd be a good time to start him Thursday against Dallas.
Let me just throw a name out there. Gary Smith, he talked about a practice goalie that I played with in Washington. You talk about goalies that really want to do well in practice. Well, Gary Smith was a classic example of please don't hit me with the puck. So anytime somebody would wind up for a shot, he would skate around and get beside the net or behind it so it wouldn't hit him. So anyways, it's nice to see that the game has come a long way, that guys really do care about the puck hitting them.
Now, Brian, you played for, you had a long career, 15-year career. You played for a whole lot of coaches. The Canadiens wanted a modern day coach when they went out and got Marty St. You went from coaching his kids to coaching in the NHL. I know you're in Calgary, but just what's your impression of just his coaching style and how it works in today's game with today's players?
Well, I think he's just first and foremost, he's got a wonderful relationship with each and every player, and if that's if I'm wrong by saying that, I'm wrong. But I truly believe the way that the respect is mutually, and sometimes these kids they still need a little bit of a hammer, and I think Marty's able to do that. I mean, the coaching staff in general, and like you already said, you've got mind people, you've got there's so much support for these athletes today, both on and off the ice, that I think that, Marty's not only going to figure it out, but if he can't, he's got lots of help around him to figure it out.
I imagine you had a couple of hard ass coaches in your days too, Brian. Was there one that stands out in your mind? If so,
Well, but you know what? I think that that's just the way it was back in the day,
Mhm.
and we deserved a little bit of hard ass because sometimes curfews weren't made, or you'd see Greeny shopping at Albertsons at 2:30 in the morning. And anyway, we did have a little more bit more fun, I think, than these guys will ever even dream of. But we do want one of their paychecks too. Don't forget that.
You guys might have had a few Kojak burgers 3 in the morning too. There, possible.
Yeah, there might have been a couple of those. Coaching in general, though, it's incredible how our guys in back in the day managed 23 guys that really, we were just enjoying. We were on top of the world, and today it's I think a little bit different. But at the same time, it looks like everybody's really enjoying and having some fun. And the game is, I mean, the game's an incredible place right now, as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't matter which game we're watching, they all seem to have a little bit of competitiveness and fun in them. So it's been great.
Brian, what was it like? You're playing for the Canadians for you, like your first game playing here at the Forum and joining that team.
If I'm allowed to use the word orgasm, I would say that would be where I hit the epitome of like that for me. That was my greatest team growing up. Got a chance to play with a couple of my heroes. Walking into that forum, I'll just never forget. There's so many memories. Eddie Pelchuk, 10-time Stanley Cup champion. I mean, one of the greats of all time. And Greeny will get a smile on his face when we talk about putting his latch in, and just the people in general. Every time that I went to that rink, there was somebody else. One of the greats was walking around, and I spent more time there after practice, I think, than anybody of all time, because I always got a chance to run into a Hall of Famer and spend some time with them.
Just to get back to Marty St. Louis, what's impressed you just with the way he's handled this team since coming in?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think he's come to learn what buttons to push with each and every guy, and he's earned a lot of respect, obviously, through the success that he's had as a player. But he's also brought that to what he expects from each and every member on his hockey club, and I just am impressed with the way that they've turned around. Because at this point last year, we were, with good reason, critical of the overall picture of their game, what was happening defensively, and just the performance of most of the guys. But right now, I am so impressed with their transition game. When they turn that puck over, they are going, and it's full speed ahead. There's no delays. They move the puck really well. They do an unbelievable job in the neutral zone. I think he's put a little more patience in their game in the neutral zone so that they try and plug it up and turn pucks over before the blue line. That's very effective against shutting down a lot of the speed from the opposition. So done a great job in modifying some of the stuff that wasn't necessarily their best last year at this point, but they're doing a hell of a job right now on their overall game, and I think that the results speak for themselves.
Changing topics here, Brian. I mean, you played a similar role with the Canes to what Jake Evans plays now, as sort of that defensive center. I used to love watching you on the bench. It looked like you were just chomping at the bit. You couldn't wait to get back on the ice again. Jake has a team worst -9 right now. I'll start with you because I think plus minus might be sensitive a bit with Rick. You know that he still talks about that minus 45 one year in that brutal
47. 47. I was -2 that night, so I got up to 47.
So Brian, how
That's
much
cold. -47's cold.
yeah.
I had my, but I had my man. I had my man.
Yeah.
So, Brian, how much emphasis did you put on plus minus when you were playing? And should it be a concern? I know Jake, I spoke with Jake before. He said he doesn't really worry about it because, you know, if you're on the ice for an empty net goal, it's a minus also.
Exactly.
But,
Yeah, that's part of it, Stu. You know, these guys know that. The coaching staff knows that. The statistic is a statistic. It's a great one if you're a plus, and it's a terrible statistic if you're a minus. And there's so many ways, as we were just describing, you're on the ice for empty net goals. You know, et cetera, et cetera. But those are the guys you really need. You're getting down to that last minute. Jake needs to win that face-off first and foremost in his own end of the rink. That's his first responsibility. And it seems like the team is there to support him. It's just not a one-man face-off as it's never been that way. But you'd love all your centermen to win it back and snap it back. But, you know, today it's important for any winger to be involved and help the centerman with the face-off. So, but that statistic has always been something that could be argued for the positive side, for the negative side. I mean, we've been in situations where your best offensive players are out there, you're down 1. Well, now you're down 2. They just got scored an empty net. Now they're out for another empty net. I mean, they end up the night even or -1. So it's a funny stat. It's just a stat. That's all it is.
yeah, and you take it with a big grain of salt. I mean, Rick, in your case, it was the
You
case
bet.
that you were a top defenseman playing on a horrible team, right? So lots of minutes. I'm sure quite a few empty net goals there also. But when you were coaching, did you guys look at that stat at all, or was it something that?
We paid a little bit of attention to it, but it wasn't a big issue. Like you said, you put guys in situations that you hope they're going to respond to and excel at. Sometimes it doesn't always work out. You happen to be the wrong place at the wrong time, the wrong bounce part of the game. And I always used that as an excuse when I was -47 that I just got a bad bounce.
Well, I think part of Evans' plus minus also has to do with they're not getting much offensive production from their bottom lines. And Jake has 2 goals. Josh Anderson scored his second goal against the Kings. Gallagher has no goals. Valeno has no goals. Brian, I guess that factors into it too when you got line mates that are struggling to produce offensively.
Stu, my favorite story of all time when I talk to people and we talk about the 1986 Stanley Cup team. I always say we're going into game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Our line had 11 goals. Lemieux had 11 and McPhee had 4. You can do the math?
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
anyway, we had 12 after game 2 in the Stanley Cup Finals. I
Yeah.
finally got my first, so timing's everything,
Was
right?
that the
I mean,
overtime goal, Brian?
that was the overtime goal. And people say, that was your first in the playoffs. Yeah, what the hell was that? First of all, what was I still in the lineup for? And secondly, what was I doing on the ice, right? Good coaching.
You
That was
didn't
what,
make,
that was nine seconds in or something. Was that it?
You got it.
What
yeah.
Yeah.
what what do you remember about that play?
Well, Stu, you got time? Because for 9-second goal, it takes me about an hour to describe today. It
We'll take
was
a condensed version then.
it was so funny that face off straight up in the air almost. Living in Calgary, of course, we get a kick out of when I'm with the alumni
Yeah,
here,
I'm
and
sure.
people always and a couple of the guys are always saying Cooner, Jamie McCallum, they always say, where were you going? Because McPhee and I are going the other way, 2-on-1 against McGinnis, and there's Jamie going the other way. So anyway, it's kind of funny. The story gets bigger and better, but what a highlight and what a something to have on my resume for a number of years everywhere I go with the Canadiens alumni. Of course, this comes up, and I have had more fun with that, I think, in the last 40 years than anything. So it's been great.
I can still see that video in the back of my mind. What do you remember about that, Rick?
I was actually on the ice and watching these, incredibly offensive guys turn something that was an average play into an unbelievable play that ended the game. And I was like, going, yes, thank goodness we don't have to play much longer tonight because, as you know, those things can go either way. And thank goodness the bounce and
Yep.
Screwy, did what he does best, showed up.
It was interesting, the game against the Kings, Brian, because the Kings had four former Habs that were with them during the 21 run to the Stanley Cup. You had Edmondson, Armia, Corey Perry, and Philip Deneau.
Yeah.
What was it like the first time you went back to play at the Forum against the Canadiens?
Oh boy, that was an 8-1 thumping. Um, the Habs beat the Florida Panthers, and after the game, I've got after the game. Well, I had all the guys set up to go to Da Vinci's restaurant after the game, and Doug McLean came into our dressing room, said, "Well, you guys should be really disappointed, and I think we're all just going to go back to the hotel." And I'm sitting there like a good student with my hand up in the air, and he looked at me twice and didn't want anything to do with what I was going to ask or say. So I had to follow him all the way into the coach's room. Well, down the hallway, he wouldn't stop. So I followed him and the two assistant coaches and got into the coach's room. Now, well, there's our team owner. There's our team general manager. And now Doug turns to me and he says, "So what do you want?" And I said, "Well, I've got dinner for all the boys at Da Vinci's tonight." I said, "We're forgetting about this one. We're going to get ready for Ottawa." Well, Dougie said to me, he said, "Well, yeah, that's a good idea." He said, "Why don't you take everybody out, make it mandatory, and nobody's back in the room. If anybody's back in the hotel before 3 a.m., I'm going to find them." Well, that's all I needed to hear. So away we went. And the next morning we had practice over at Verdun. They skated us for a complete hour. And it was down and back, over back, down and back. Anyway, when it was all done, we had some beautiful Da Vinci's food again on the bus ride from Montreal to Ottawa. And we kicked Ottawa's ass the next night. So it all paid off.
Nice. And not that long after that, Brian, you guys went to the Stanley Cup final with that Florida Panthers team.
Well, that was part of it too, Stu. And I meant to say, joining the Canadiens and of course, first year back in 1986, I didn't realize they had won so many years on the six. I think it was 1906, 16, 26, 36, so on and so forth. And so winning in 86 was something else. And then, of course, I get a chance to go with the Florida Panthers in 96, knowing that the Canadiens are no longer part of that. But I was part of it, to be honest with you. And a couple of old Canadians ended up winning in Patrick and Keener and Claude Lemieux because they were with the Avalanche that year. So the Canadian history went on. But speaking of six, it would sure be nice to see something in 2025, 26.
Good point. Rick, looking back, what did you like most about Screwy here as a teammate?
Well, I can tell you what I didn't like with hanging of the dog poo on my doorknob, but I used to nickname him Chopper because I didn't like to skate behind him because there were a lot of chips that were coming out from his blades. But he was a guy. He every night was just, you know what you're getting from him. He was going to whack and chop and talk and do his part and whatever it took to find a way to win. And I didn't know much about him until he came up. A bunch of the guys had come up in that Stanley Cup run, and we had a lot of laughs. Maybe too many delays with the ride home from the airport to get him back to his family, but we lived to tell about it, and we found ways to win as a group. But Scary was a big part, and he drew a lot of attention each and every day, which is a lot of positive, good stuff.
That's awesome. I mean, well, that's it for this week's Hockey Inside Out show. Brian, can't thank you for joining us. That was Knuckles going to have to fight for his job maybe next week. We'll see how it goes.
Awesome.
Brian will be back with Rick and I for 3 bonus episodes coming up over the next few days, so look for those. Also, if you enjoy our show and haven't done so already, please subscribe to our Hockey Inside Out YouTube channel. As mentioned earlier, the Canadiens are back in action Thursday night when the Dallas Stars will be at the Bell Center, and then the Boston Bruins in town Saturday. So that'll be 2 pretty good tests for the Canadiens.